G'day guys and welcome back to AdosTheGreat YouTube channel. So guys, in today's video I will be doing picking my SuperCoach team for 2024. 2023 was the first year that I actually played SuperCoach, and I did this too. I selected my team last year and I went all right. I can't exactly remember where I ranked, but it was, I think, somewhere between 4,000 and 10,000. So it was pretty good. I was actually in I think the top 5% or something for the most part. And then I just wasted so many trades, and come the last 4 weeks or something, I had no trades left. So I absolutely shit the bed late in the season. Injuries and players rested really hurt me. So hoping for a better year this year, but now, I come from NRL Fantasy, which I quite enjoy, but I would argue that I actually did better in SuperCoach last year than Fantasy until I wasted the trades and had nothing left at the end of the year. But yeah, let's jump in and pick my team. So we're going to start with the dummy halves. Now, obviously, if we go to player ownership, Jaden Brayley's pretty high in percentage there. And I can see why, but I do think Phoenix Crossland will get a lot of those minutes. I think he will be taking up a lot of those minutes. And yeah, look, don't get me wrong, Jaden Brayley, extremely cheap, averaging 40.4 last year before he got injured. He's projected 3-round average is 41 points there, so definitely not bad. But I am going to take Jeremy Marshall-King. Now, he is going to be the player I start with here, and my bench player is going to be Brendan Hands. The reason I'm taking Hands is Brad Arthur's pretty much come out and said Parramatta are going to run with one hooker, whether that be Hands or Lussick. I think regardless of who it is, they're going to get good minutes there. And if Lussick beats Hands to it, great. I'll just trade Hands out. Well, not trade him out, but I'll just remove him from the team and bring in Joey Lussick. So, either or, definitely got options there. So, Brendan Hands is going to be my first pick there. Alternatively, if Jaden Brayley is selected to start for the Knights, I probably will look towards Brayley. If he gets that nod for round one, probably will look towards Brayley, but outside of that, I am going to lock in Brendan Hands. I think if Parramatta do decide to go with one dummy half and Hands gets the job, I definitely do think that he can be a very valuable player in 2024. All right, next up, we got front row forwards. Now, look, obviously the most picked front row forward is Payne Haas, and I probably will look at putting him into my squad for round one. But I do think that fatigue could play a role in these 4 Vegas teams. And for that reason, I'm actually going to drift away from Payne Haas. He is projected to average 76. I'm actually going to go a little bit of a cheaper option, and I still think it's going to be a good option for me. I'm going to take Joe Tarpanay. So Joe is roughly about 94,000 cheaper than Payne Haas. And I think on that Raiders team, they've got a very weak backline. Their forwards they're going to want to do a lot more work. So I think that's a really good pickup there, from being honest. I think that Joe Tarpanay is going to be a very good player for the Raiders. Again, last year he averaged 64.3. Payne Haas averaged 73.5. So not a massive difference. There is a difference, but I do think that the first 4 rounds we will see a bit of fatigue from Payne Haas. And yeah, I think that his score will his price will actually drop a bit. And after the first few rounds there, if he has dropped and Tarpanay goes up, my plan is to then sell Tarpanay and buy Payne Haas. Look, is it the right option? I don't know. I'm still pretty new to SuperCoach, but it's the option I'm going for, and I reckon it might work out. All right, my next pick is Spencer Leniu. Now, again, you know, because I said about Payne Haas, you know, fatigued and all that, you could make the same argument for Spencer Leniu. However, at 332,000, that is really cheap. And with Maria Hargraves out round one, Spencer's he's gonna put his foot forward to get that starting role for the Roosters. He's already said that he wants a starting role for the Roosters. Look, I do think that Maria Hargraves is going to get his spot back once he returns. But I still think Spencer Leniu is going to get enough minutes to get a really good price rise there. So I'm going to stick with Spencer, and fingers crossed we see a bit of money come his way. All right, next up, I'm actually going to go for the second row forward / FRF from the Gold Coast Titans, Keenan Palasia. Now, I think Tino's going to move to a lock role in 2024, which will open up a front row spot for Keenan. And I think that at 365, very similar to Spencer Leniu, this is just, it's an offer I can't pass up, to be honest with you. So, yeah, I think that's a juicy pickup there, in my opinion, because I think Keenan's going to get a lot of minutes with the Titans. Right, next up, I'm going to take a relatively cheap player here. Now, this one, I'm going to go with Samuel Hughes from the Bulldogs. I think he offers so much. He's a rookie. He only played 5 games last year for the Dogs, and he didn't average all that much. Like, he's projected to average 15.7 points, but I think he's going to get a fair few minutes, because the Dogs, they're pretty weak when it comes to front row forwards, and with Liam Knight injury prone, and they've got a lot of players that haven't cemented a spot in that team fully yet. And I really think Samuel Hughes, especially in trials, can put his best foot forward and lock in a decent amount of minutes for the Doggies. So I think at 238, like, he's definitely a good cash cow. He's going to make some money, and I can flip him later on down the track for a better forward, in my opinion. Right, so they're the front row forwards, locked and loaded, guys. As you can see, I haven't really gone too many of the 4 teams that are going to Vegas yet. We're probably still not going to get too many that do go to Vegas. There will be a few, obviously, but yeah, I think I've locked in a few good ones there. Again, guys, I am still pretty new to this, so if you guys do want to drop down in the comment section, let me know where I can improve, where I've gone wrong. I'd love to hear from you guys. Any criticism, as long as it's constructive, is welcome here. All right, next up, we've got the 2 RFs. One player that I think is going to have a massive year is Sean Lane, and I will be taking him. 446,000 is incredible money. I think we're going to see Dill Brown have a massive season, feeding a lot of ball there to Sean Lane. Sean Lane is a great line runner. I reckon he'll score plenty of tries in 2024. If you haven't watched my Dally M medal predictions, guys, I do have Sean Lane winning the second rower of the year. So I think he is a pretty good pickup there, if I do say so myself. Next up, we've got Joshy Curran. Moving from the Warriors over to the Bulldogs, I think he's going to have a massive role there, probably slotting in at lock for the Bulldogs. I think we're going to see a lot of minutes there, potentially an 80-minute player. I think he'll average around that 50 to 60 mark there for the Bulldogs, making, mid 120s in meters, and his tackles will be, I reckon, around the mid-30s as well. So I think we could see a pretty good average there from Josh Curran, because with the Warriors, didn't really get the opportunities there, and now I think we're going to see a hugely improved season for him. So that is my second pick for the second row forwards. And my third pick, now this one I'm not fully sold on, but I am going to take Siwa Wong. Now, this all depends on selections for round one. I could definitely move somewhere else. It's not locked in yet, but I do think at 462, if we can get the productivity we saw from Siwa Wong late last year, I think he can be a bargain buy at 462. I reckon he, like Curran, could average between the 50 and 60 mark. And I think that is such a good pickup there if he does that. Now, obviously, that is subject to round one selection, guys. So if he is not selected or he doesn't kill it in the trials, he will be taken out of my team and I will look at another option. Another good option around that same price is Beau Fermor. I think he is going to want to have a massive season for the Gold Coast Titans. He was definitely on my list, but I'm going to pass on him for now. Next up, I'm going Tallis Duncan. Being a Rabbitohs fan, I have followed Tallis for years. I think he's just an electric player. He'll make several line breaks. He'll make several tackle breaks. He'll score a few tries. He's definitely a player with huge upside, in my opinion. And I think that at 321,000, that is crazy unders, in my opinion. I know he's still relatively unknown, I guess you could say, but I do think that he is going to be an elite level player, and I think he will eventually crack the 13 for the Rabbitohs, or in the second row, I should say, for the Rabbitohs. So, yeah, he is definitely a player that I think everybody should have in their squad. All right, next up, we've got to do it. We've got to take Ben Trbojevic. Now, this is tough, and he could definitely be out of my squad. I'm not going to lie, definitely could be out of my squad by round one, depending on how everything goes in the trials. But if he can beat Schuster to that second row spot, then I think he has to be somewhere in the team, guys. He is going to be locked in there for me. Now, again, I could probably play him in the second row, which I might, in the centres, which I might actually do, because I do think, I might move around with this, but I'm going to take him out of there for now. I'm going to go a couple of cheapies in the second row for one of them being Viliami Fafita, because I do think he will get a decent amount of minutes for the Dragons, and I think that we will see that price go up fairly quickly. Another player that I think will have a big impact, he's fairly cheap, and I do think he can score relatively well. That is going to be Samuela Fainu. I think he can score well for the Tigers. Yes, they do have a bye in round one, but I think that he is a good option to have there too. So they were the three to close out my list, and I don't know how I want to go. I do think that I could move stuff around in the centres to get Burbo in the centres, but that's sort of what I'm looking at the moment. My halfbacks, it's Cleary, it's Hines, and then it's the rest. There's really no other option. If you look at projected round one total, Sean Johnson's projected to go 94. I don't think he will, to be honest. I think you've got Cleary, you got Hines, and then you've got you got a massive gap between everybody else. So I am legitimately taking both. I think you have to have both in your team in 2024, guys. If you don't, I think you're crazy. You're crazy not to. My halves, I am going Dillbags Brown. I think he is going to have a big year for the Eels, as I said before, and we're going to see plenty of try assists from him to Sean Lane. My next pick is between KO Weeks and Ethan Strange, and I do think Ethan Strange wins that spot. Again, I'm not fully sold on it yet, but I do think he wins that. Another good shout is Kyle Flanagan for the Dragons, but Aiden Caesar's a good one too. There's definitely options here, but I've got a clear-cut favourite here, and that is Ethan Strange. We've seen what he can do before. Coming up through the grades, he's looked outstanding, and I do think he cements that 5'8" spot for the Raiders. Outside of that, could play in the centres for them as well, but I think he's pretty much locked in there, and he'll be playing footy for the Raiders 100%. All right, centre wings. This one is interesting. I do think Taylor May is a must get at 458,000. I think he's going to have a big year for the Panthers. Definitely a player that I want in my team. So he is my first one there. My next one. Now I've got a big list here. I have a big list. I've got Kale Iro on the list. I've got Chevy Stewart on the list. I've got Xavier Savage on the list. I've got Bronson Cherry on the list. Burbo, obviously, we spoke about. I'm steering clear from Failonga at the moment. Now, if he comes out and kills it off the bench or plays in the centres for the Storm, I'll definitely look at him. But for now, I'm staying away from him. Jesse Arthurs is another good shout. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, I just don't trust it. When he played in the NRL, phenomenal. He was insane. But we don't know if we're going to get that same level yet. And then these other guys, they're just too expensive for me. One player I do probably want to lock in for now is Drew Hutchinson. I'm going to bring Drew Hutchinson in because I do think he wins that halfback spot for the Bulldogs. Now, this is being recorded before the trial match on Thursday night. So I don't know how he goes in this trial, but I do think that he was quality for the Roosters, and I do think he can lock a half spot in for the Bulldogs. And if he does that, bloody fly in the house. I do think that he is going to score really well, fly, in 2024. So he's locked in for me. He is going to be my centre there. All right, next player. Bronson Cherry is somebody that I want to look at as well. I'm probably going to lock in. I'll lock in Kyle Iro. I'll have to see how he goes this weekend. Definitely a player that I could swap back out. If he's not named round one, then he's definitely coming out of my team. But if he is named round one, I expect massive things from him. And I think at 219, you just can't go wrong with that. I do expect to have a little bit of money left because I didn't go Payne Haas. I went a bit cheaper. So I should have a little bit of money left to play around with, but we'll see how we go. Well, I don't want to have too many Bulldogs. I probably do want Bronson Cherry somewhere around the team, but I don't know if he nabs that spot on the bench. Another issue I've got is Xavier Savage could definitely get a run with the Raiders, but I do think Chevy Stewart plays. So I'm probably looking at Chevy Stewart, Ben Trebojevic, and somebody else for my bench. Actually, one player I do want to look at, and I don't know how far down he is, Justin Olam. Definitely a player I would consider as well, and I'm going to select him. I'm going to select Justin Olam. Obviously, I'm going to have to sub him out because he's not playing round one, but I think that he is going to just, especially with a weak Tigers backline, I think he is going to put in a lot of work in 2024. I'm hoping I'm right because I don't want this pick to bite me in the ass, but I think he's going to have a big year. I really do. So I'm going to select him. Mapapalangi is another interesting one because I do think he has a pretty big year, but outside of that, I'm not really interested in too many more. Obviously, you got players like Jermaine Asako, but I don't really want to pour in all that money when I've got this much, into the halves. How much have I got left? Ooh, we're running a bit short here because I want to go I want to go guns at fullback. I want my fullbacks locked in, some guns there. So, to round out my bench here, I'm going Burbo. I'm going to lock in Chevy Stewart because I do think that he gets the nod for the fullback in round one. I could probably go up to 500. Oh, Jake Avarilla's a good shout too. If he gets that, which I think he will get that centre spot there, that's not a bad shout either. What's the difference? It's 100k difference between him and Cherry. I like Tai Munro as well, but he will be out for the first 4 weeks. Jamin Salmon's an interesting one as well, but I don't think he gets enough minutes off the bench there. Let me get the fullbacks done and I'll see how much money I've got. The fullbacks are easily locked in for me. Kalen Ponga has to be there. A full preseason at fullback. He played 5'8" last year. Don't know why the Knights did it. It was a stupid decision. I think he has a brilliant year. He's got to be in my team. And then my other one is Ryan Pappenhausen. If he stays fit all season, I think he's going to have a massive year for the Storm. So he gets my final spot there, or second last spot, because we have 577 remaining. That ain't bad. I want to try and keep around 100,000 in the bank. What are our projected totals here? Like, Suafalongo's not, he's not scoring 83 in week 1 unless he comes out off the bench and kills it. I think my best option is, I think it's to go with someone like Averillo, or I think Averillo is probably the best pick here. But for now, I am going to take Bronson Cherry. Probably going to put Cherry into the starting side there. Look, it definitely needs a bit of work. 232,000 left in the bank. Not bad. Should I spend all that, guys? Let me know in the comments. Last year, I had like $300 left. Like, I spent everything. I kind of want to have a little bit of a cushion this year, just so I've got a bit of money to play with there. But let me know, should I spend it? Should I save it? I'd love to hear from you guys. Let me know if you agree with this team as well. Let's save that. Let's lock it in. I'd love to hear from you guys. Like, that's what I'm doing this for. I'm doing this because I want to share my thoughts with you, but I also want you guys to let me know if you agree or disagree with these selections. Love that. Cleary at fullback. Cleary at captain. KP as the vice captain. So Pappenhausen's got to get a reserve spot. So does Hines. Probably going to give one to Tallis Duncan as well. And I think that between Palacia and Hands, I think we'll go Hands for now. But 1002, not the best, not the worst. I think that's a pretty good round 1 squad, guys. Let me know what you think. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Again, guys, I'd love to hear from you. Please do let me know. And as always, my friends, I will see you in the next one. Thanks, guys.